I really feel like the pain is really the best part. And what I don't mean that it feels the best. It does not feel the best, but it is the part that really breaks you out of whatever complacency, whatever stuckness you're in. I think the pain comes to illuminate those things for us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to A Matter of Speaking podcast for leading voices in the industry of health, wealth, relationships. Today we talk creativity. I'm your host, Dylan, and man, we got a good one today. We are speaking with Shani Pride. Shani Pride is a visionary writer, director, actor, speaker, and now creative consultant with over 20 years experience in the entertainment industry. She has worked with major studios, CBS, HBO, Showtime, Warner Brothers, starred in hit TV shows, CSI Miami, Weeds, American Horror Story. She is currently in pre-production on a film she is writing and directing that is set in Italy and developing Brownsville Redemption, a TV series she wrote and created that explores deep themes of equity, access, and resilience. As a creative consultant, she helps brands and companies harness storytelling, content, and media to amplify their impact and create powerful, purpose-driven narratives. She's awesome. She's had such a cool life with creativity. First, on for plays, and then going on the big screen, and then going behind the big screen and directing, and then taking all of that to help companies grow through this lens of creativity, helping us see our jobs differently. She's like, you can be creative if you're a writer or an artist. You can also be a creative entrepreneur. Some of the big themes we talked about is the power of stillness, the power of silence, the power of listening and observing before we act, but being intentional with acting, how to learn and do simultaneously and how to feel that out, how to treat obstacles and pain as part of the journey that you can transmute into something beautiful. Like, it can be the reason you hit big heights and how to get through it. And then we talk about how to get started. So, incredible podcast. Y'all are going to love it. I'm going to pass it over to us. Before I do, these podcasts are brought to you by Leader, a company that helps people get their authentic message out to the world on physical and virtual stages. Over 700 TEDx talks have been landed, hundreds of people speaking on virtual and physical platforms worldwide as well, and helping people build their business authentically and sustainably. If you like us, if you like me, if you like this vibe, there's links in the description below to check out our free webinars. And while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get more of this content. But that being said, let's pass it over to me and Shani. The big screen, Hollywood, episode 43. We're talking to an actress, a creative inspiration, a corporate workshop extraordinaire, Shani Pride. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Hi, Dylan. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to talking about creativity. It's like my second favorite thing to talk about other than imagination, and they basically go hand in hand. You have done a bunch with your creative bones, and we're going to get into the background in just a bit here, but I like to start this with the same question for everybody, because I think everybody that's on this wants to be a leading voice for something they believe in. And you've been on the big screen, and now you're going to corporate events, you're doing these workshops. You're a leading voice for the power of creativity. For you, what does it mean to be a leading voice?
It's a great question. I instinctually feel like being a leading voice means vulnerability. It means the ability to listen, and it means the ability to bring others together. So for me, in order to lead, you have to lead by example, and you also have to listen, understand, comprehend, digest, and then take steps forward.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're not running into battle being like, this is what it is. If you can take enough time to stop, listen of what's needed, then we gather people around you to go out to the battlefield.
100%.
And your battlefield, similar to mine, is creativity.
Yes.
I was we were just talking about this. I was speaking with a group of elementary school kids, and we were talking about when does imagination and creativity become a thing, right? And I mean, kids will tell you anywhere between like 21 and the day you were born, right? And I'm sure it goes all the way back, but do you recall like your origin story of when this creativity concept like hit you?
I do actually. It's so funny. I was in the ninth grade. So, first year of high school, I was in a play called Guys and Dolls, and I had zero lines. I was on stage the entire time, but I was in the wings. So, I had this incredible perspective and advantage of being able to be in the play, but
Hmm.
still observe the audience simultaneously. And I was blown away. I was blown away every night by the power of creativity, the power of artistry, of media, of content creation, of all these things, and how it sways an audience. So it sways them to laughter, it sways them to sadness, it sways them to provoking thought. And so for me, this impetus around listening first is also born in my artistry around first acting, now writing and directing. But first, it started with, and there's a technique called Meisner technique, which I studied intensely. It's all about the art of listening.
Hmm. So you being an observer literally started your creative journey of you're watching from the wings, seeing the performance, seeing the interaction, bringing people together, and then you're like, I want to step into this. How long? I think that's fascinating for someone that's listening to this, and let's say they have a mastery or a message they want to lean into. It's totally cool to be an observer for a bit. How long do you remember observing before you were like, you know what? I think I want to step into that.
Ah, I'm still observing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I will forever. I hope I will forever. But to sort of dive into that point that you're trying to make, for me, I really take creativity seriously. I think it's, they say that it takes 10,000 hours to really know something in your bones and at your core. So I dove into the craft, starting with acting. And I was listening intently for years and years and years. I've been in the industry now for almost 30 years. So I would say those first 10 years were me studying, listening, observing, and also looking at those who I admired, I respected, who were the leading voices in that space, and the ones that I was sort of wanting to model my career after or learn from or take nuggets from. It all started with observation, listening, and understanding too. So you're studying at the same time. Then, once you are able to really kind of grasp what you want, what you need, what you don't need, how you want to move forward, then you can move with a powerful step, I think.
Do you think I'm so curious because again, you get on the big stage and I love this. I watch movies, I watch animated series, I'll read, comics and I'm now not only watching it, reading it as a lover of the content, but I'm also like, "Oh, here's where they're at in the 3 act structure. Oh, here's how they're bringing this in." Right? Very similar like you're observing any advice for someone out there because I think as beautiful as that is and it's needed understand the frameworks learn from the masters that came before you when do you think when it's time to be like now I'm entering the arena is it
Mm.
something that is it something you force yourself to do like what do you think
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I know you'll get this, but I
hmm
think the two things happen simultaneously. I
hmm
think, especially as an artist, right, or a creative, and that can apply to entrepreneurship too. That can apply to many fields. It's not just about being a traditional creative, but you have to also do. So you have to do because you're learning from the doing, and you have to listen because you're learning from the listening. And I think when you do those two things simultaneously, it's magic because oftentimes I think there's also this sort of fear of jumping in. So sometimes you can fall into the trap of listening for too long and not actually just putting yourself out there. And that's why I also feel like vulnerability is key because you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable for people to read that script or see that performance or hear that pitch or that proposal for that company that you're trying to build. It really does start with also doing while you're learning simultaneously.
I love that you said whether it's you're on the big stage whether you're an author like what we think is a traditional creative or you even say as an entrepreneur Like, do you get that often from people that are like, well, you're a creative, I'm not? Like, how often are we having to flip the script for people?
Often, yes,
That's
all the
nuts.
time. Because everyone, I really firmly believe that everyone is a creative, whether you identify as one or not. We all have that pulsing through our veins, and it's all in us. It's in all of us trying to emerge. And part of what I do, as you know, is helping people tap into that creativity because it's our superpower if we allow it to be. And so you don't have to identify as a traditional creative to be creative and to take advantage of the power of creativity.
I 100% because I'll tell kids like the difference between imagination and creativity is imagination is thinking something in your mind that doesn't exist yet, right? Creativity is bringing it to life.
Mhm.
But you can imagine winning a big hockey game. Creativity is showing up to practice. Like it doesn't have to be these traditional outlets, right? Imagination helps you understand yourself and creativity helps you express yourself. And I
Mhm.
love that's what you're doing now because you've already been on the big screen. You've proved everything you've done. People have now heard your intro. It's incredible. Now you're deciding to take that concept of creativity and help people in corporate America, right? I mean, you're working with lawyers, you're working with the traditional creatives and the untraditional creatives. In your mind, what do you think is if you to boil it all down, I'm sure there's a lot. What do you think is the biggest obstacle that gets in someone's way when they want to go down their own creative path?
Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Is it
think
a
it's fear.
certain type? Is it?
I think it's so interesting. I think most people identify with the fear of failing.
Mm,
I also feel like one of the most paralyzing fears is the fear of success, the
mm,
fear of being great and being this powerful force in the world. I think people fear that equally as much. And I think people stand in their own way because, yes, they're afraid. What if it doesn't work out? But they're also afraid. What if it does? And what
mm.
if I have to leave? What if I outgrow my certain circumstance, my current life, my current friend group, my current income stat, my current, like the idea of sort of evolving into this incredible being, I think can also be very fearful that people aren't aware of that.
So would you think most people would say fear of failure first? Or from the people you've worked with, are there people aware enough to say, I actually fear success?
I think when you're on the corporate level,
Yeah.
you already are in sort of a successful position. So I do think it's sort of like fearing what that next iteration looks like. And then people
Mm.
also may feel, well, I'm safe here, I'm comfortable here, I'm good here. But pushing yourself to higher heights and pushing yourself to break the barriers that you may have been created for yourself, I think that's where people get sort of caught up in the corporate space.
It's fascinating because I've heard fear of success before. And like the first, like when I hear that, like internally, I roll my eyes. I'm like, who the hell thinks that? But the way you break it down made a little bit more sense of I've built a pretty good stasis in my life right now. I've built a pretty good comfort zone in my life right now. What if I rock the boat? What if I decide to jump, and then it's something completely changes? Now I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say someone decides to and they start down their own creative path. Like nervous, what do you think are those first steps? Someone's listening, they're like, you know what? Fuck my fear of failure or my fear of success. I am going to get started. What the hell do I do first? Like what would you say those are initial steps?
Yeah, I love it. And yes, it's first deciding to be brave to
Yep.
say, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to evolve and grow and go to this next stage, this next level, this next iteration of my purpose in life, really, because ultimately it's I want to make a bigger impact in the world. What that means I have to maybe shake up where I am currently, but I really strongly believe that the first step is stopping and really taking inventory of where you are, what you want, who you want to be, what is working for you, what is not working for you, and start to really kind of journal, meditate, sit, contemplate, reflect. And again, it goes back to that listen first, then understand, then act. Because I think if you move too quickly or you kind of like a bull in a china shop and you're just kind of trying things and intentional about what you're doing,
Mm.
that can lead you down the wrong path versus being very clear, very intentional, very purposed, very grounded in the work that you want to do next, the pivot you want to make, etc., and then moving from that place.
Yeah, I think a lot of people when they're like, "Oh, creative," you just sit down at a blank canvas and instantly start painting and know exactly where you're going. It's like a lot of creatives, if we look at art as an example here, probably stare at that canvas for a while. They breathe, they get intentional with it.
A while, more than one would think. Yes.
It's nuts that we don't count that as the creative process. Like a lot of us, you know what I mean? Like creative process should be silence. It should be journaling. It should be a journey
Yeah.
and not just like, oh, look at this. I drew the Mona Lisa. Like it takes time to get there.
Absolutely. And and we live in such a popcorn society where we're so rushed to like do the next thing and get to the next thing. We don't have any patience and we don't allow ourselves to cultivate an idea. Like an idea can come to you. Like, for example, I'm a writer, right? So I spend a lot of time reflecting on what I'm gonna write,
Mm-hmm.
as much time doing that as I do actually writing. And there's
Mm-hmm.
a very fine line between procrastinating and reflecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one can kind of fall in the trap of, oh, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, and they're actually not really actively moving forward. Versus, like to your point, sitting in stillness and silence. Some of the most powerful, life changing ideas have come to me in a state of meditation.
I'm, I still so I don't know. I feel like it's probably the $1,000,000 question too. It's like, what is that line between I'm sitting in silence, I'm sitting in stillness, and I'm procrastinating? In your opinion,
I
if you were
th-
to answer the $1,000,000 question.
yeah, I think it's about being intentional. So you're
Mm,
not sitting and watching TV. You're
mhm,
not sitting and scrolling through social media. You're actually sitting with a pen and pad or
mhm,
your notes open on your phone or whatever it may be. And you're literally asking yourself hard questions. What you're asking yourself, what's next for me? What is trying to emerge out of me? Who
mhm,
am I trying to become? What impact am I trying to make in the world? What
mm.
impact have I made? What things are working? What things are not working? So you're actively sitting. You're actively intentionality is coming through in those moments.
It's nuts because when you put it that way, like again, this could just be because I try to lean into the path of the creative as much as possible. I'm like, that sounds so fun. Like that's actually enjoyable to be like, let me just sit and ask myself tough questions. Like I got nothing else to do. I can just do this. So I wonder if we just either don't look at it that way of like, oh, if that's creativity, I can do that, or there is something that gets in people's way. Because I like your mindset on this. You've talked about it before of like pain being part of it, right? Like there could be someone that sits and envisions, hey, this is what I want to do, and they start thinking of this creative journey, whether it's in business or on the, a big screen, and they start being like, oh, well, that's gonna suck. Or post it on social media. Oh, people are gonna think that. Like they start thinking of these really difficult
Mm.
parts of the journey. How do you view pain? I'm just gonna put broad stroke pain. How do you view pain in the creative process?
I love this question because pain is such a huge part of it. I I feel like anything that's worth cultivating and building and growing, which takes 20, 30, 40 years, right, to really build something, whatever that something is,
Hmm.
there's going to be a lot of pain along the way. And I really feel like the pain is really the best part. And I don't mean that it feels the best. It does not feel the best,
Hmm.
but it is the part that really breaks you out of whatever complacency, whatever um, hamster wheel, whatever stuckness you're in. I think the pain comes to illuminate those things for us. And it's really a blessing because if we never felt pain, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't change, we
Hmm.
wouldn't evolve, we wouldn't try to grow, change, or evolve because we'd be so comfortable. And life, I don't think, is about being comfortable. I think life is about growing, it's about learning, it's about dissecting, and especially within ourselves. So when we're experiencing an extreme amount of pain, it doesn't always, but it should force us to look inward and understand what is the source of that pain which then could lead to so many doors opening, questions being asked of ourselves, etc., which will ultimately, if we give ourselves enough time, lead to something better at the end of it.
It's nuts. It's like we all fall in love with the screen and fall in love with stories, I feel. And we love, like, give me one good story where the main character had zero struggles, learned nothing. Like, we see that and we're like, oh my God, what a great story. I don't want to live that though. It's just,
Right.
that's where they grow. It's the big lesson of the movie or of the show.
Yep.
So it's like this big bad that we can have in our life, right? I'm trying to again picture the storyteller concept of me. It's like we hit these big bads, this pain, and it's a good thing.
Hmm.
You also, I guess I'm curious, you talk about creativity being a tool.
Hmm.
So I guess what do you mean where, let's say there's someone, they're like, I'm going to go on my creative journey, and they hit that first big roadblock. It's like, oh, judgment. What are people going to think? That's that first big obstacle. How do you see creativity in that moment as a tool to work through it, get through it?
Twofold. Yes, because those moments are inevitable. They're going to
Yeah.
come. So you can approach it creatively in two different ways. The first way, I think, is reimagining what's possible. So sometimes we get so stuck in what is that
Yeah.
we forget that things can literally change in an instant. Like literally, something can change the moment you decide it's going to change. So creativity is a tool, and we talked about journaling and even visualization and these things, meditation, etc. These are tools within the creative field that allow you to reimagine what's possible. So if this isn't working for me, what could be working for me? What is another option or another avenue forward? Another, I think, way to use creativity in this space of stuckness or pain or overwhelm, etc., is the notion of like a cathartic thing. So sometimes when I'm going through a very, very difficult time in my life, I write as a cathartic way of getting through that time in my life. And oftentimes I'll be writing about characters that are on the journey that I'm on, in maybe not the exact same way, but very much on that journey. And as they are overcoming and as they are realizing and finding their way, it kind of pulls me with it. So it's like that saying, art imitates life, life imitates art. You can use creativity to also release the pain, allow the pain to go through you instead of ignoring it or blocking it, and then create something out of it, whether it's a painting, a dance, you write, a journal, you build a business, which is very creative. So
Mm.
you're channeling that pain or that confusion in a very positive, creative way.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm getting this right. The first one is, I think the what came into my mind as you were bringing this up is like being a creative. Again, any path is about going out to battle, hitting roadblocks, and then being okay to retreat for a moment, come back home, come back to that comfort as long as you do it with intentionality, and then go back out to war. Like continue to blaze that trail and hit a roadblock and feel it, and then come back. And then when you're saying that you hit that roadblock, the two paths being one, let's reimagine what this could be, what it could really mean. I might just be putting this dark spin on it for no reason. It could be something great. Or I wrote the word, it's like transmute it. It's like, no, this is pain. This does suck. What could I turn this into? What
Yeah.
could I turn, because the feeling doesn't kill you,
No.
right? You can feel it, you can alchemize it in your body, and then you can express it. I also liked in there, and it could be part of the transmuting, but it's like, I love what you talk about is making an allegory out of it. So it's like, let me write about a character who's had a similar struggle,
Hmm.
and then how would they get through it? And then you want to be that character.
Yeah. And that
Uh,
character pulls you through in a way. It's magic.
how, I think important question for anyone listening, how often do you do this?
All the time, really.
Give me something tangible. Would you say is like a weekly practice? Like when you first started, someone getting ready to do this, are they going to be like, oh shit, I should probably retreat to the journal once a week or twice a week? Or like, what do you think it is to start?
I think it's waves. I think we all have
Yeah.
seasons, like truly how there are seasons, right? In the
Mhm.
winters, we retreat. We're hibernating. We're reflecting. We're sort of building ourselves back up. And then in the spring, the things that we've planted are now blooming and we are coming back into the world. I really believe in these cycles, these natural cycles of life, how the ocean ebbs and flows. The tide comes in and the tide goes back. A flower goes through the cycle of death and then rebirth. And so all of these, I think, are completely representative of our own cycles in life and how we go through periods of joy and elation and things are really in their flow. And then there's going to be times of retraction and sadness, or maybe something, the passing of someone in our lives. Like there are going to be moments that heavily, heavily, heavily affect us. But because that's inevitable, I feel like using creativity during those times can be a place of solace, and it can be a place of um, transformation, so that
Mm,
you can take that pain, like you said, and transmute it, and also allow it to drive you to create something beautiful. Because
mm,
how beautiful is that? Is like using this very painful experience to create something, is potentially something that can help other people navigate their own pain, is
mhm.
really the goal, oftentimes for me.
And with it, it's a one of the things that comes to mind is I know a big moment for my life. I grew up with my grandparents, and it's like I wanted to be an author because of my grandma, and I lost my way. And then I remember my grandma passed, and it was this like rock bottom moment. I was in a different part of the world. I was in Africa, and it was just like, what do I do? And then I took this moment, and that's what got me to start our comics, our stories. And now that's a piece of my grandma. I'm spending time with my grandma every time I work on this. Now she's just gone from me physically. So it's, I think a lot of people don't realize when you can have this power to take pain and transmute it into something great. Like they don't realize that like you're really taking pain and you have a way to look at that and smile for the rest of your life. I think,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
I love that, and I love that about your grandmother. And I have similar instances with, the love of my life and a very painful situation that came through that, and me not being ready and really needing to grow. So like the pain was also a lesson for me, a lesson for my own evolution as a human being.
Hmm.
And had I not had that very painful experience, I wouldn't have grown and become the woman that I am today. So it's not always negative. It's negative because it feels bad, but
Hmm.
then to your point, and then I created a whole film out of that experience. So now I have something that is really beautiful that was birthed from that. Like, and you have your company that was birthed from that. So why not do that? Because it's not like you can avoid the pain in life. We cannot avoid pain, but we can turn it into something beautiful for sure.
Because when we just get hit with pain and we're like, okay, this has happened to me, that sucks. This has happened to me, that sucks. And that's all you're looking at it as. It's almost like it's rooted in stone. And we
Yep.
don't realize it's like, actually, I turned this into this.
Yes.
Now, very fun to talk as two creatives talking about putting things on the big screen, putting things on paper. But I'd like to shift slightly now to the work that you do, right? Because you speak on the power of creativity, but correct me if I'm wrong, you speak to a multitude of different audiences, a lot of them in corporate America, right? So, who is it now that you tend to work with? Like, who comes to you for help when they want Shani Pride to come in, teach them the power of creativity?
Yes. So now I'm really excited about this iteration of this creative journey, because it is about going into these corporations, and it's large corporations, in a multitude of industries, because I think every industry can really benefit from this work. But going in and teaching both the leadership and the employee level how to harness the power of creativity to not only transform their lives personally but also professionally.
Hmm.
So I think we're in a climate right now, as we all know, where people are struggling, people are burnt out, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they're just clocking in and clocking out. And quite frankly, they're in a lot of pain because they're
Hmm.
not happy. So my work is about going into that environment and transforming it, bringing people back to life, bringing them back to their why, allowing them to reimagine what is their life's purpose, their path, their focus, whether it's their work personally and professionally. And then allowing that culture, both on the leadership level on down, to then transform the nature of that corporation ultimately, and allow it to be lighter, brighter, more inspired, thinking outside of the box, more productive because of it, more retention because of it. People are showing up to work in a different state of mind. So it is about changing lives and changing company cultures
Mm.
ultimately.
Yeah, because you talk about it's like a twofold. You're elevating purpose and then amplify impact.
Yes.
Now, what you and I have been talking about is like, hey, we're journaling and we're, looking at a blank canvas, or we're thinking of a character, then and we're writing that character to get us through pain. Are you doing that exact same thing with someone? I know you work with a law firm. Like, people that are in that firm, are they doing the same thing and they're journaling and drawing on canvas, or is it shifted slightly for the arena that they're playing in?
It's both. I think it is shifted slightly for the arena, but it's also tapping into those instinctual creative tendencies that we've abandoned, that we
Mm,
had in us when we were children. And I think when we depart from those things and we go into our adult life and we go into these very serious spaces and we think we have to be as serious all the time, we let go of the thing that keeps us breathing and keeps us alive and keeps us flourishing, which is the power of play, the power of
mm,
creativity, the power of innovation, the power of free thinking and curiosity, really, right? So it's like when you're in an environment where you're sort of stuck doing the same thing over and over again, how do you disrupt that? How you disrupt that, transform that, and then create something bigger, better, stronger, more productive for both yourself and the company. And I think you do that through this tool called creativity.
mm. So if I was, it's so fascinating. I'm like, yes, right? Like, creativity disrupts. And what if you were able to look at my role of like, I can play my way to the top. I can have fun and use my childlike tendencies to grow in a career,
Mhm.
to take these pains, like you and I have been talking about pains of death and heartbreak. Pain could be, hey, I didn't get the job that I was after. I didn't get the promotion, or I got extra work dumped on my lap. But we have the same ability to recreate that pain, that story, to get the most out of work.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me just see if we can put. I can go into arena. Let's say I'm working in a company as just as a sales rep, right? Because I've done sales in the past, and they're like, "Hey, Dylan, rest of the sales team, we got Shani Pride coming in. She's going to teach you creativity." And I'm like, I got quotas to hit, right? Like, that's in my mind. I'm like, if I got to hit a quota, like, this is taking me away from 4 sales calls. What is it that I go into that workshop with? And then when I'm leaving, what do you hope that I have? And if you want to use a different example than sales rep, you can, but that's just the only thing I'm thinking of.
No, I think it applies to everyone. So sales
Yeah.
rep is fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you go in thinking one way
Hmm.
and you leave completely turning your thought process, your approach to both your work and life on its head. And the magic and the power and the transformation of that is you don't even realize or understand how you're operating on the day to day. I think people get so stuck in a way of being that when you bring someone to an environment, and yeah, maybe they might come in a little annoyed, like this is pulling me away from my work. But then when you focus in on people's heart and soul and passion and life. And it's not just about like, what are you hitting in terms of your numbers, but it's like, okay, how can we improve and enhance your numbers overall in general? How can we create a better version of that sales rep, a better, more realized, more productive, more creative, more thought leading, more leadership driven type of person that will not only hit 4 that day, but may hit 5 or 6 because they're more connected, they're more in tune, they're more aligned with the company's vision, they're more aligned with their own vision. And we have to take the time to nurture these parts of ourselves because ultimately we'll burn out and then we'll give up and then we'll leave, as
Hmm.
opposed to working on ourselves along the way so that we don't burn out, give up, or leave.
Yeah. Hoping that the next job will give me a spark and I'll love the honeymoon phase. It's like people can leave a significant other because it's tough and you got to work through, and then you leave someone else. It's like you get a spark, but you're going to get back to that moment of,
Right back.
I got to work through this. Like, and as someone, I mean, I use someone that can vouch for things that you do. I use creativity every single day
Yeah.
as a leader of a company. It's like I literally imagine my own characters with me of like, okay, how are we conquering this?
Yes.
It's fun because you get to help people grow creatively in business and you're building a business. So
Hmm.
I guess for you, as you've been building, I love the business side. What's been like the biggest lesson? I hate to say favorite or biggest, but like the one that comes to mind right now when it comes to building your own business.
I always go back to this word of patience, and Dylan, you and I talk about this a lot, is consistency.
Hmm.
Um, I think the biggest lesson is thinking that underestimating how much you can do maybe in a year and overestimating how much you can do in a month.
Yeah.
So people always are like, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z so quickly, as opposed to having a more patient, long term view on things. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm. Well, I love that. And it's like, or some people, it's they overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. But it's like just being able to put that thought across teaches us the patience. Because I mean, what I always tell people is like, you better love the journey. Like if you don't love what you do, get into a different job, right?
Absolutely. And that's the other thing I love is falling in love with the process, the journey, because life is not about a destination. It's really not. And I've heard really, really successful people talk about how the best part of their lives was in the building of X, Y, and Z, not in the when X, Y, and Z sold for $1 billion. It
Hmm.
was the process of building it and creating it. That's the part that we tend to not value, and that's really the best part.
How many times do we have to hear that for people to actually believe it? Because it's like everyone's like, yeah, cool, 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 but I want the big buyout. It's like, I don't think you do. We've heard it enough from successful people. And okay, so all this has been fun, and I am
Yeah.
looking at the time. I know we only had a specific time. I want to get into this, what I call the uncomfort zone, right? You're loving the building part, but you decided to do it, which I think can be scary. You do have to get out of that stasis. So, three questions that I ask everybody. First one, for Shani Pride, why did you decide to get outside your comfort zone to pursue this expression of this message of creativity and helping businesses grow?
Mm. Because my purpose in life is helping other people find their purpose in life. And that to me is the meaning of life. It's about community, tribe, others, connection, love, growth, you name it, intentionality. So, in order to step into those things, you have to be vulnerable. You have to, and it was a process for me to get there. This was not an overnight thing, but I finally surrendered to being vulnerable and surrendered to being uncomfortable because I knew the value on the other side of it. I've experienced it.
Mm. Yeah, it's like when you do know what's on the other side. Yes, it's scary to cross that chasm, but it's like it's worth it for it. What's ego hat off, of course. Why do you feel most people don't get outside their comfort zone?
It's scary, you know?
Mm.
It is. It's scary and it's overwhelming, and I think people are trying to find safety in life. And I don't blame people for trying to find safety in life, but I think like what you do and what I do is about helping people get out of their comfort zone. Like not everyone can do it on their own.
Mm.
Sometimes you need that encouragement, you need that community, you need someone to say you are worthy, you can
Mhm.
do it, you have something valuable, I see you, I hear you. One conversation can change someone's entire life.
It is nuts. Like what one sentence of someone being like, "Yeah, I love what you're doing. I that's so amazing." For me, it's like, "Oh, yes."
Yeah,
You know,
thank you.
what what do you so first step for someone that's, let's say they're listening to this, they're like, "You know what? Listening to Shani Dillon, I'm ready. I'm gonna pursue this." What do you think's the first step? What would be your recommendation for that first step?
I think we go back to that stillness of
Mm.
just be with yourself. Take a moment, take a weekend, take a day, take an hour a week, whatever it is for you, however you can fit it into the structure of your life, and get still. around what is it, and let things come to you. Like, we don't always
Mm.
have to pursue things. Let things come to us is the most powerful way forward. And it will come if you give space and hold space for it to actually come to you.
I love that because there's a lot of people that's like, go out and do it. You know, like like you're almost saying, hey, just be intentional to sit in silence and let things come to you. And it might take a few times and have patience with the journey. That is amazing. Shani, I love talking to you.
Oh, this was so great.
How do people, last question, how do people find you?
Find me
Someone,
on
yeah.
Instagram. I know
Oh, hit me.
I'm on TikTok too.
Hit me with the Instagram handle. We'll put it in the description.
Yes, and it's Shani_Pride for both. But yeah, find me on Instagram. I'm really building a community there, and it's going to be a journey for all of us that we're all on, and we can support each other along the way.
Johnny, you're incredible. I really, really, really appreciate this. Talking about creativity is fun. Taking it to the depths that we got to go is even more fun. And we did it in like 30, 40 minutes. So if you like this, if you're listening, whether it's on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get more of this stuff. Make sure you put in the comments the biggest thing that you took away. Give a review if you're on Spotify or any other platform there. Here are the biggest things that I took away from today's call. Being a leading voice, actually listening first. I think really coming into listening in that stillness first. So then you can step into vulnerability. You talked about being an observer, sitting back, and then you can dive into the craft. And it gets to this point where you're learning and doing simultaneously and treating fear and pain as a part of the journey that's going to make it worth it, that we actually have a place to flex our muscle and get creative, using creativity as a tool to get through this pain. Reimagine what this pain could be, or completely transmute it and bring it to life, like have a meaning. So then we can be these meaning makers of pain to beauty in our life, and treating creativity like seasons, like being okay if we're down a little bit before we express ourselves and bloom and have a harvest and reap what we sow. It's just absolutely incredible. And if you're looking to get started on creativity today, don't rush out and go do something. Take some time and just be intentional and go inward. Shani Pride, you are a muse. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, John. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Not a problem. For everyone else, we will see you next week. As always, like and subscribe. We'll talk soon.